A Poet's Tragedy, Episode 2, The Road to Corinthia.
This portion of the story lasted a couple of days. The tract up to the plains of Corinthia was unbearable for most. It was lucky that we were the ones there leading the king. Anyone else, it would have been a lost cause. Now, I didn't get on with the heroes of this story very well in the beginning. I don't know if they even liked me towards the end of our tale, but we fought alongside each other like brothers. We traveled for some days, and we got to the bridge fort. And it's a bridge that's also a fort. And that was going to be our last stop before we got to Corinthia itself. Approaching the gates, we saw something was wrong. And that's when we noticed claw marks all over the walls, and smoke just fading off in the distance in the sky. We approached with caution, and then we saw two guides standing guard. With a little bit of relief, we approached them. The short one had a bit of a temper on her. She pissed off our friends in a humorous way. We gained entrance and asked for any provisions they could provide, but, as it turns out, the rest of the country was not doing well at all. These terrorists with these airships were flying around the entire plains of Corinthia, littering them filled with monsters. They would release cages from these airships, and they would come crashing down, and beasts of all shapes and colors would come out killing. If I remember correctly, there was only about 6 people left in the bridge fort. We left them there, and as soon as the gates closed, it seemed as if we had made the biggest mistake of our lives. As we looked around, there was a small village to the left, on the other side of the road. There were bodies thrown around everywhere. Bodies all over the fields. One of the companions said that they saw a monster drag a body right into the river itself. We just kind of closed our eyes and took one step after the other. What else are you supposed to do when you're scared shitless, huh? It was fine until the sun went down. We were discussing whether we should push forward through the cover of darkness. And that's when the Lady Amarantha started spotting creatures in the dark. Silhouettes of monsters in the trees. It didn't seem like they were watching us, but they were just keeping an eye out for anything that moved. And to our surprise, we saw a carriage flip in the street. The light quickly snuffed out, and the screams of those poor, innocent civilians, they still echoed through my dreams for the next days to come. We cowardly used that as a distraction to keep going. We were traveling light and low, using the thicket of the trees along the road to keep our cover. We ran out of trees and decided to cross the road. There was a wide gap, nothing to cover us. We decided to sneak it past. Private Ito, my friend, made it across while we were all discussing amongst ourselves. Surprisingly, he was alive. I swear that fool has more luck than anyone I've ever seen before. So one by one we crossed the street. And one of our guides, the newly instated, the one that used to train our sergeant, Yulia, he watched as a giant figure down the road was just digesting some people. One bite cut them right in half. Not wanting to stick around, we kept trying to do our best to get out of there. We found some cover in a cave. We checked it out. Surprisingly, none of the monsters had found it yet. And we cleared it. Or so we thought. Some of us began to make camp. I believe it was myself that took watch. Some of the heroes went down there, and that's where we met some of our new friends. They were monsters that were brought here by these terrorists, but they had no foul intentions. If anything, they were kidnapped from where they once came from. They seemed peaceful, and they communicated with us. They were a strange-looking folk. Looked to be mushrooms, but people. I still don't really know what they were. But we shared some laughs with them through miscommunications and a little bit of tomfoolery from some of the friends. That was a pretty good night. The next day we continued on our journey. It wasn't too long for us to be spotted by some monsters. The Lady Amarantha went down, and the rest of the heroes saved her. The king took a beating. I did myself as well. We made it apparent that we had to keep stealthy the rest of the way. We could not handle another attack like that. These beasts are from nightmares themselves. As we continued our trek, we noticed that many monsters were on our trail. We thought we were done for in that field. But the little blue fellow, he found a cave. We ran down there as fast as we could. And that, I still have no fucking idea what was down there.
Very good, Keltinger. That was almost entertaining. Now, the reason Keldinger doesn't fully understand what's down there is because he wasn't allowed into the tomb with the rest of the heroes. The 4 heroes of the journey: Lady Amarantha, the Forgotten Princess; Jova, the outcast Tabaxi; Morhim, the emotionally unstable Loxodon; and little LJ, the small Triton boy, far from his ocean home. They went down into that cave and discovered the true meaning of why they had come together. That is where the real story begins. Hopefully, they'll actually see it to the end.